Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, when you go into the ring, you have to know you're trusting the guy that you're working with, and I'm sure that anybody that came in those later generations into ECW probably looked at those of us that were in the initial generation as having a closer connection to Paul or whatever. I can't speak for Taz. I can speak for myself. I had no closer connection to Paul the day I left than I did the day I came. We were just two very diametrically opposed people on most issues, and we respected each other, and you know, obviously got a lot of good out of each other. But Paul's not the kind of guy that I'd go hang out and have a beer with, and I'm sure I'm not the kind of guy he'd go out and have a beer with. But those guys that were in that initial group, you know, the Taz's and Tommy Dreamers and Sandmans and Shane Douglases, I'm sure to later generations probably had a feeling that we had some closer connection to Paul. It's just human nature. And Taz being, you know, obviously a pretty proficient guy in the ring, that, you know, you know, you're very leery of going into the ring and exposing yourself, giving yourself to somebody else you're not sure you can trust. And so I'd be surprised if Mike said anything other. But Mike, the only part that surprises me about that is that Mike was a fairly tough kid and, you know, could handle his own. But again, you don't want to go to the ring having a match you're trying to go out and execute on and not sure as to whether or not you can trust that the guy behind, you know, that you're facing and that you're putting your body in the hands of is not going to try to hook you from behind and, you know, stick his thumb in your eye like I did to that fan. You know, so that doesn't surprise me. But the part that gets me is, you know, when you look back, it's easier to forget things that, you know, when you're not reliving them in day-to-day accounts. But the fact, like you just stated it, that a WCW wrestler was wrestling a WWF wrestler on an ECW show, to me is just about as bizarre a world as it could get. You know, because keep in mind, like, for instance, right in that same time frame was when we had the Brian Hildebrand show in Pittsburgh, that we were forbidden from filming any of the matches on the card because it was the first time, and maybe the only time, that WWF, WCW, and ECW personnel all appeared on the same show. So, you know, just again, the politics makes for strange bedfellows, and I think it was part of what led my decision to leave ECW. It wasn't just falling behind in the payments, which Paul had egregiously done, to a six-figure tune to me, but also the fact that I knew that he was getting phone calls from Vince McMahon, which I had heard firsthand myself in the ECW production studio. So, you know, when you get into those situations, you know, it's not just what you execute in the ring. It's now you've got politics intersecting with all of that, and then human nature. You know, Paul wasn't going to come and say, "Yeah, I'm setting you up for a fuck over, Mike." You know, and so you go in with all that, you know, on your plate, and not quite sure if you can, you know, trust the guy that you're in the ring with, and it makes it very difficult to go out and execute and have a great match.